Goodwin, you must have been up late watching the Super Bowl like me, right? I don't know if y'all have heard of that. 4 kids. I meant to do that. And I had my 16-month-old. I got a 9-year-old all the way down to 16. My 16-month-old decided to get croup last night, and I had 2 children with stomach bugs in the same evening. So we decided to get everything out. So I'm not exactly the freshest I've ever been, but I am excited to be here. I got to spend the day in Rocky Mount. I get to spend a day or 2 every week here, and I've fallen in love with this community. Enough of y'all have heard me speak before to know that I am your greatest cheerleader, and I will always be your greatest cheerleader, because every now and then we all need a cheerleader, right? That's an important thing. So thank you for how gracious of a community y'all have been to us. It's not lost on us that we are, for all intents and purposes, outsiders. You know, we came from a little town down the road and set sights on what we thought was the most gorgeous sight we've ever seen in one of the most, the richest histories of a community you can find anywhere in this country. And when we saw that, we fell in love with it. And since that point in time, we've been inspired. And what a time to do business in Rocky Mount. Not even because of us. Geez, we're like the afterthought. Norris and his team, 1,000 jobs in the last 6 months. Downtown investments going through the roof. I think John might be tweaking that a little bit. Come on, guys, laugh at that. It's funny. But, Station Square, what Ben Braddock's done. Think about that, guys. That's an amazing piece of work. The new event center, while I know tumultuous, is a powerful economic development tool for this community. And most importantly, I think the remarkable growth of our community colleges in North Carolina Wesleyan, the table is set for something great, right? And we are inspired. We're inspired by this community. We're inspired by y'all. Most importantly, we're inspired by the story. It's really humbling to be a part of a community as they shape their future, as they kind of come to grips at how you got to where you are and what you're going to do as you move ahead in the future. That's exciting. God, it's lucky to work on that, right? I got 4 things I kind of focus on, and I think these are the key attributes that if we all do this every day, I think we'll be successful. We need leadership. We need leadership. We've got leadership. We need more leadership. We especially need leadership around diversity. And I'm key on that. Communities of the future who do not understand diversity will not be successful. That is a fact. And we as a community need to do that. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies, the C-suites of the Fortune 500 companies, the most diverse C-suites correlate directly with the highest growth of revenue. Different backgrounds, different stories, different experiences all lead to better outcomes. And that's something we need leadership around every day. We need patience. This is hard. There's no silver bullet, right? As we work through what we're working through as a community, we got to understand that we're doing community development, guys. This is what we're doing. We're working on the reasons why people want to live here. Why do I choose communities I want to live in? I care about schools. I care about parks. I care about infrastructure. I care about culture. I care about arts, right? And every one of you in this room wake up every day, and I guarantee you work on one of those things. Keep doing that. Please keep doing that, because we got to do that as a community. It's going to take all of us. No one group or one organization can do that. But we need to understand reshaping the future of a community is based on the assets you bring, because the first decision people make in their lives, the most important decision people will make in their lives, is where they live, right? It's not who you marry, even though my wife argues on that one. It is where you live. And we have such an unbelievable community that gives the best reasons for people to want to live here. And we need to be proud of that. Vision. Vision, right? And when I talk about vision, I think the important thing about our vision here in this community is we need a regional vision. We need to think about Eastern North Carolina as a region, right? The other high growth areas in this state have done well because they have acted as a region. Triangle notably. We can do the same thing. How do we and Greenville and Wilson Tarboro. And I'm going to stop there because I'm going to forget a community and everybody's going to start getting mad. But how do we all work together? How do our plans intermingle? How are we planning together? Because there is a rising tide, and it will float all of the boats, right? What's good for Wilson's good for us. What's good for Greenville is good for us, except for football victories. Y'all got to loosen up a little bit. And here's the last thing, most importantly. Be unapologetically confident. Have some swagger, right? You're from Rocky Mount. That's a great damn place to be from. There's a football team last night that I'm pretty sure, even though they had not won a Super Bowl, technically a Super Bowl ever, I'm pretty sure they weren't hanging their head walking in last night. Pretty sure they were confident and they thought they were going to win. I'm confident in what we can do as a community. I want y'all to be confident too, because it is contagious. And as you tell the story of your community, of our community, as you tell that story, it will grow and grow and grow, and the sky's the limit. So I'm your greatest cheerleader. Let's get to work. Welcome to the evening. I don't know what else to say at this point. I don't think I'm supposed to introduce anybody. I think we're going to pray here in a second. Thank you very much.
You should have introduced me as Mr. Goodwin coming up to speak after you. So, thanks for that exciting opening, Michael. And after that, I felt like I should come up and jump up on the stage, but barring the risk that I would have gotten hurt, I decided differently. But thank you. And I think we all share the excitement of what's going on in our region right now. And I know me personally, having the opportunity to have grown up here, I grew up in Momeyer, just a little town just west of where we sit here this evening. Went to high school here, went to college at ECU in Greenville, and have just really seen this area grow. It was interesting for me last evening, though. We mentioned the Super Bowl. My wife and I spent some time living up north, so I went up to get some education, then came back to where it all is very meaningful here. But I lived for 12 years just north of Philadelphia, so I was surrounded by Eagles fans when I lived there. And then we moved up to just outside of Boston, so we lived in Massachusetts for 3 years. Of course, I was surrounded by Patriots fans, so we were a little torn last evening who we're going to pull for in the Super Bowl, but we ended up defaulting to the underdogs, and it was a good choice. So for those Eagles fans in the rooms, fly, Eagles, fly, right? It was a great game. It was a great game. So thank you all for joining us on this special occasion. Special thank you to Michael for introducing our meeting and sharing your thoughts. And your endless contributions to the Twin Counties region. You have truly been a cheerleader for us, and we thank you for that. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing our honored guests who are here with us this evening. First of all, and if you wouldn't mind, please stand when I call your name. North Carolina House Representative Bobby Richardson. North Carolina DOT Gus Tullis. Gus, I know you're here. I've seen you. Our Nash County Commissioners, and I think we have a few in the room, so Nash County Commissioners, please stand. Thank you. Our City of Rocky Mount Mayor, Mr. David Combs. Council members, please stand. And we also have here with us this evening our Chief Deputy DMV and former U.S. Marshal, Scott Parker. Scott, I know I've seen you as well. Scott. We're very pleased to have a number of our past chairmen also here with us this evening. I've certainly learned the experience over the past year, how much it takes to be a part of the chamber and be a part of being the chairman of the chamber. So I'd like to ask all the past chairmen to please stand and be recognized. I feel very honored to be among you. So each year, our chamber has amazing financial support from our membership, our investors, our chamber partners that have provided outstanding support to us. You can see them on our banners behind me and on the screens as we scroll through. Without their financial contribution, we would not be able to provide the numerous services and benefits to our membership and to our community. We've been fortunate enough to also receive tremendous support from our media partners. They work with us all year long to make sure we're spreading the word about our members, the positive news about our community and the Twin County region, which keeps the voice of business very strong. For our 114th annual meeting, we have some very special sponsors to thank, beginning with our presenting sponsor, Rocky and his entire team, the Rocky Mount Mills team. Thank you. I'm going to struggle with that all night, Michael, so I'm going to apologize to you now if I say it again. Also, our meeting location host, Nash Community College. Thank you to Bill Carver, Linda Snell, and the entire Nash Community College team. Thank you. Our print sponsor, Allegra Design, Marketing, and Print. Thank you to Todd Henson and his team for all the materials for the meeting. I only have a couple of more here. Our meal this evening is being provided by Rose Hill Conference Center, so also a big thank you to Walter Murata and his entire team out at Rose Hill. Thank you. And then our last two, our dessert this evening is being provided by Poppy's International, so that'll be available to you after the meal, I think in the back of the room stage. And also a special thank you to our wine sponsor, Becky Parks with Nationwide Insurance. She provided, and her company, a bottle of wine for each of our tables, and also our beer sponsor this evening is Bull Durham Beer Company by way of Rocky Mount Mills, supporting us with our complimentary beer for enjoyment for the evening. So thank you to all. I now just want to read through our table sponsors to acknowledge those who contributed to our meeting. If it's okay with everyone, I'll read through these and then we'll give everyone the recognition at the end of the list. So first of all, Batts and Bell, LLP, BB&T, Body Knoll Enterprises, Century 21, the Combs Company, the City of Rocky Mount, Coastal Credit Union, Crown LSP Group, Cummins Rocky Mount Engine Plant, Daughtridge Cells Company Incorporated, and Top Dog Waste Solutions, Doubletree by Hilton Hotel, Rocky Mount, Family Medical Center of Rocky Mount, Fields and Cooper, PLC, First Carolina Bank, Nash County, Nash Healthcare Systems, North Carolina Wesleyan College, Oettinger and Company, CPA, Pfizer, PNC Bank, Pointer Spruill, LLP, Providence Bank, Rocky Mount Preparatory School, Southern Bank, the Action Group, Human Resource Solutions, and Word Tabernacle Church. Let's please give a round of applause to those who are our table sponsors. Dewey, take note. It's a lot to read up here. I'm sure you've all noticed the centerpieces on your tables. We have marked one program around each table with a colored dot sticker. I don't know what color, it may be multiple colors, but one of you are a lucky winner of the centerpiece at your table. So whoever has the lucky program, please so I guess we've all figured out now who's the lucky winner of the table piece. A very special thank you to Flowers and Gifts for the wonderful arrangements we have in the hall this evening. Thank you very much for our floral arrangements. And last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank Lynn Wall of A&L Multimedia LLC for your ongoing technical assistance throughout the years, to Pete Lewis with Studio L Production Services for the Distinguished Citizen of the Award video, Gary Hodges from Sunset Studios LLC for photography, and Sandra Smith from WHIG-TV for the coverage of our event. Let's give this entire group of supporters and contributors a big round of applause. Okay, and with that, we're going to move to our dinner portion of the evening. Please join me in just a moment in welcoming Dr. Haywood Parker, one of our newest 2018 board members for the Chamber and pastor of Truth Tabernacle Ministries, to provide the invocation for our evening meal. Following the invocation, we will move directly to the dinner portion of our event and enjoy some social time at our tables and mixing in the room. We'll resume the remainder of our program at approximately 7 p.m. We are a little bit behind schedule, so we may flex that to about 7:10 to get started this evening. So, Mr. Parker, please join me on stage. Thank you.
Good evening. Let us pray. Eternal God and Almighty Father, we pray this evening to give you thanks that you have enabled us to come together as a community from many walks of life and from many different and unique businesses. We ask for your blessings over this evening's event, and we ask that the spirit of oneness and love for our community will prevail as we share this time together. Help us to continue to encourage a sense of unity and common purpose as we seek shared vision. We seek prosperity and growth in our businesses, in our community. Thank you for the blessings and the benefits that many employers and employees have to give to their families and produce a good quality of life. We pray that our choices as stewards of what you have entrusted us with will serve to contribute to the health of our community and will ultimately affect change in the lives of the people. Thank you for the Chamber, its leadership, and its work on our behalf. And we thank you for the people who volunteer when there is a need. We ask that you bless the food that we will receive this evening and make this a very pleasant and wonderful occasion. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, I'm very honored this evening to introduce our guest speaker. Mr. David Fountain is the North Carolina president of Duke Energy, serving approximately 3.3 million electric retail customers and 717,000 natural gas customers across North Carolina. He is responsible for the financial performance of Duke Energy's regulated utilities in North Carolina in managing state and local regulatory and government relations and community affairs. He also has responsibility for advancing the company's rate and regulatory initiatives, the water strategy, hydroelectric licensing, and lake services. He assumed his current position in September of 2015. Mr. Fountain previously served as Senior Vice President of Enterprise Legal Support for Duke Energy from 2009 until the close of the merger between Duke Energy and Progress Energy in July of 2012. Mr. Fountain served as Vice President of Progress Energy's legal department. He also led the merger-related legal, regulatory, and shareholder approval process for Progress Energy. He joined Carolina Power and Light back in 2000 as an Associate General Counsel, providing support for the merger with Florida-based Progress, which formed Progress Energy in North Carolina. In 2003, Fountain was promoted to Deputy General Counsel, managing the commercial transactions practice group that provided advice and support for corporate governance and securities matters, wholesale power, gas, and coal transactions, as well as divestitures, mergers, and acquisitions across the enterprise. The group expanded in 2006 to include nuclear and federal Energy Regulatory Commission matters. In 2008, he assumed the role of General Counsel for Corporate Services for Progress Energy. Before joining the company, Mr. Fountain practiced transactional and environmental law at the predecessor firm to McGuire Woods LLP in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was raised in Guilford County, North Carolina. He earned his Juris Doctorate, Master of Business Administration, and Bachelor of Arts degrees from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He's also a member of the North Carolina Bar Association and a graduate of Leadership North Carolina. Mr. Fountain currently serves as Vice Chair of the North Carolina Chamber and is a member of its Executive Committee and Foundation Board. He also serves as Chair of the Leadership North Carolina Board and on the boards of the YMCA of the Triangle, the Alexander YMCA, and the Shepherd's Table Soup Kitchen in Raleigh, North Carolina. He is a former chair and two-term board member of Marbles Kids Museum. Mr. Fountain and his wife Lucy have 3 daughters and live in Raleigh, North Carolina. It is my great honor to welcome to the podium tonight's keynote speaker, Mr. David Fountain.
Thank you so much, Marty, for that warm introduction, and how exciting it is to be here in a room that's got such positive energy, positive momentum. You know, we're in the energy business, and we like to think positively about what we're doing there, and there's no question that this room is really, the momentum is almost palpable. I really enjoyed hearing the presentations earlier tonight, and the future of this region is very, very bright. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be here with you tonight to talk a little bit about what we're doing at Duke Energy to help promote the economic welfare and development across the regions that we're fortunate to serve. You know, I grew up in rural Guilford County, just like Marty said, and my part of the county has experienced a lot of transition, much like has been going on here. I grew up in an economy that was powered by tobacco, textiles, furniture manufacturing, and a lot of that has really transitioned over the course of my lifetime. But now as a state, you know, we're able to transition to a more diverse economy, and one that is really going to be growing and thriving over the next decade or so to come. You know, one of the things we're experiencing is remarkable population growth here in North Carolina. We're like the 4th or 5th fastest growing state in the country. And we're planning on about a 20% population increase over the next decade. So if you think about that, right now the population of North Carolina is a little over 10 million people. We're going to have 12 million people in our state's borders before the year 2030. And so that puts a lot of demands on infrastructure, whether it's transportation infrastructure, roads, bridges, demands on education infrastructure, demands on healthcare, and certainly demands on energy infrastructure as well. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, we're focused more, even more so now than we have previously, on investing in projects that will help drive the success of the state as we experience this remarkable growth across the state. So that's one of the reasons why we're investing in the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. How many of you heard of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? I like to see that. I would like to start off first and foremost by giving my heartfelt thanks for those of you who have been vocal supporters of this pipeline project. You know, this project is really, as much as anything, a jobs pipeline, in our opinion. So we're really excited about the opportunity for economic development and projects to grow off the pipeline once it comes into service here in a couple of years. But while the project's really drawn some criticism, you know, Rocky Mount and other eastern North Carolina communities are really acutely aware of the need for more natural gas capacity right here in the region. We saw that certainly during the first week of this year in January, when we had record cold temperatures at Duke Energy. We set a peak period for usage throughout that week. So for more than 100 years that we've been in operation, we have never generated as much power as we did the first week of the year of January 2018. And one of the reasons for that is because of you know, the increased demand due to that long extended cold spell. But that's also one of the scenarios that created a sharp contrast for the need for more gas supply. You know, I was talking to Rich Warsinger a little bit earlier, and we're talking about how gas prices spiked during that first week of the year. You know, right now there's only one pipeline that serves North Carolina. It's called the Transco Pipeline, and it's essentially serves the western part of the state. It's roughly along the I-77 corridor. And so we're having to bring gas to eastern North Carolina from that one pipeline across along the I-77 corridor. Well, during the first week of January, you know, typically we were seeing prices that were about $3 per 1,000 cubic foot, or MCF. And that's kind of the baseline price that we see and what we've been working off of for planning our systems here in North Carolina. But during that week, we saw prices really skyrocket to up to $120 per MCF, and the average price for the week was over $34. So a tenfold increase in the cost of natural gas. And it's not because of the lack of natural gas at the wellhead. In fact, at the wellhead where the Atlantic Coast Pipeline is going to be sourcing its gas prices remained at about that $3 per 1,000 cubic feet. But what generated the price spikes was the capacity constraints, the lack of ability to be able to transport the gas from where it originated to where it was going to be used at the end. And so it's really critical to be able to get the additional capacity into the state, and the Atlantic Coast Pipeline will do just that. It's, like I said, only going to be the second major pipeline in the state. It's essentially going to come right down the I-95 corridor once it enters North Carolina. It originates in West Virginia, comes through parts of Virginia, and then comes right down the I-95 corridor, terminating in Robeson County. And without the strong local support that we've had for really the last 4 years since we've been working on the pipeline project publicly, then we would not have gotten the critical permits that were issued just in the past week or so in order to keep the pipeline on schedule. The Department of Environmental Quality issued a permit called the 401 Water Quality Certification Permit, and then we got the final erosion and sedimentation control permit just on Thursday last week. And so that will allow us to keep the pipeline on schedule. We've already begun some tree clearing activities and things like that. About 200 miles of the pipeline will be in North Carolina. Overall, it's a 600-mile project, so over a $5 billion investment in North Carolina. It's going to generate millions and millions of dollars worth of property taxes for those 8 counties through which it'll be running. And so there are a number of economic benefits in the near term through the over 4,000 construction jobs that it'll create, but then more importantly, longer term. As I said, we think of this as a jobs pipeline. It's really going to help lay the foundation for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of permanent, good-paying jobs here in eastern North Carolina. You know, one of the things that we're all proud of is our agricultural heritage, our agricultural economy. It's the largest driver of the economy in North Carolina. But a lot of the food that we grow here in the state has to be shipped out of state to be processed. One of the things the Atlantic Coast Pipeline will do will be to bring more natural gas capacity here so that we can attract food processing stations here to the state and be able to not just grow the food but also process it here. And there's a number of other opportunities that I know Norris Tolson is very busy at work recruiting. He's been a terrific supporter of the pipeline, and so I'd like to thank him along with Mayor Combs. We appreciate your support and leadership. Rich Warsinger and the Rocky Mountain Utilities, and then Gene Kitchen as well, and many, many others. So too many to mention. But without your strong support, we would not have gotten the approvals necessary after even what was the most thorough environmental review of any infrastructure project of its kind in North Carolina history. So it's a major, major milestone. We've got a lot more work to do over the next 2 years until we bring the pipeline in service, but it's certainly something that we can celebrate as a collaborative effort among many, many key stakeholders to ensure that we got those timely approvals. The pipeline is scheduled to be about a 2-year construction process before it comes online. So you think about that, it should be online by the winter of 2020, just 2 years from now, which for a 600-mile project is pretty remarkable. But we certainly pull the mic up. Okay. Is that a little better? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. How many of you have heard of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? All right, great. Well, I'm sorry about that. I should have done a sound check here as we got started. The need for the pipeline is certainly clear, and we would not have gotten all of the approvals without your support. So thank you so much for that. There's a number of other infrastructure projects that Duke Energy is investing in order to plan for a smarter energy future for all the customers that we're fortunate to serve here in the state. We estimate that of those 10 million North Carolinians that I referenced, that that Duke Energy serves about 7.5 million of those directly. And so we're doing a lot of work around our grid in order to improve reliability, improve its security, and reduce the number of outages that our customers experience. It was only less than 18 months from Hurricane Matthew, and I know that a number of communities here in eastern North Carolina are still recovering from Hurricane Matthew, and it's going to be a long road to full recovery there. But that event demonstrated some of the constraints on the grid as it has been developed over a period of really decades. You think about the grid today in North Carolina, we've got about 190,000 miles worth of wire that we maintain. That's enough to go around the earth more than 7 times. And so a lot of the grid there has been built on standards that were established in the 70s and 80s. They were built on standards that only permitted the one-way flow of electrons. And what we're seeing now is a need to have a smarter grid in order to serve our customers and, like I said, reduce the number of outages that customers may experience. So some of the things that we're working on as part of a new grid investment program that we call our Power Forward Carolinas Initiative, which is a significant investment plan in the grid in order to get a step-level change in its performance. We invest about $1 billion a year in capital in our grid currently, and that's just to maintain it at its current operating levels. But in order to get that step-level change, we'll be investing about $13 billion over the next 10 years in our grid, and we'll be deploying things like self-optimizing networks, which help reroute power flows automatically in the event that there's an outage somewhere. So it's a little bit like the navigation app on your phone. If there's congestion up ahead in the traffic pattern that you're on, it'll reroute you a different way. That's very similar to what the self-optimizing grids of the future will be doing. We're also deploying smart meters for our customers. These are meters that will allow you to see your energy usage in real time, something that we're all accustomed to being able to do, again, off of our smartphones or other devices, where we can check our bank balances up in it. We can check our data usage for cell phone providers, and we understand that customers would like to have that same amount of information from Duke Energy. So once we complete the deployment of these smart meters, we'll be able to provide that information so that customers can get their real-time energy usage and check and control their behaviors in ways that really allow them to control their energy bill at the end of the month. We hear a lot, especially from our low-income customers, that their light bill at the end of the month is a surprise. And after a month like January, where we had extremely cold temperatures, we're getting a lot of calls now about concerns related to high bills. What we'd like to be able to do, and what we will be able to do with smart meters, is provide our customers with that real-time energy usage, and we'll be able to give them mid-month alerts as to how much energy they've consumed so far during that month and what their projected bill will be at the end of the month. So those are the kinds of tools we want to equip our customers with so that they can make energy decisions that give them more control over their bill at the end of the month. But we really think of our grid as the backbone of today's digital economy. And if we don't achieve the step-level change in the performance of the grid that I referenced, then really I think North Carolina is going to be at a competitive disadvantage relative to other states that have invested in those types of technologies. So that's an exciting project that will also provide not just a number of customer benefits, but also a number of economic benefits as well. We've commissioned some economic impact studies, and what the investment of about $13 billion over the next 10 years in the grid will translate to statewide is over $21.5 billion worth of economic output. So to put that in perspective, that's nearly the equivalent of the entire state of North Carolina budget, which is a little over $22 billion. It'll create about 14,000 jobs, both in rural and urban areas. It'll be over $800 million in state taxes, over $500 million worth of local property taxes. So significant tax base increase of about $1.2 billion statewide. You know, Duke Energy is already the largest property tax payer in the state. So this will just enhance that much more. But you know, we hear a lot about economic projects that the state is pursuing. I'm so pleased that we've had some exciting announcements here recently around Triangle Tire, around Corning. You know, if you think about a project that could create 14,000 jobs statewide, that's something that I think a lot of us would get excited about trying to recruit. And at Duke Energy, we are going to be making these investments for the benefit of our customers without seeking any state incentives around you know, economic development grants and things like that, like you might see if we're trying to recruit an out-of-state manufacturer. So that's something that we're really excited about as we embark upon this effort to modernize our grid for the benefit of our customers and generate a lot of economic development. You know, in order to do all that work, though, we're going to need a lot of help. We're going to need a lot of help from you know, good, well-trained workers, and that's one of the things that I wanted to focus on here at the end of my remarks. We've got to ensure that communities across the state are able to be served by the infrastructure that we're developing. In order to ensure that that's the case, we've got to have a well-qualified workforce. You know, as chair of the North Carolina Chamber this year, one of the things that I hear a lot from our members statewide are the challenges associated with getting a talent pipeline, you know, getting qualified workers. And in some places of the state, we've got higher unemployment levels than we have in other places of the state. What we'd like to be able to do is, you know, match the needs with the opportunity locally. So as we are working on you know, our Power Forward Carolinas grid modernization plan, we're also simultaneously working with a number of partners, including right here at Nash Community College, on line worker training and recruiting programs. When you're here during the day, you may see our the Nash County Community College's line worker training yard, but you'll see a lot of utility poles that are just right off the campus here. You know, we'd like to really expand those programs so that we can recruit additional workers. We're currently about 300 line workers short statewide at Duke Energy. In order for us to do the work on the grid that I just talked about, we're going to need several thousand more workers to help do that work. So that matching up the opportunity, the skill set, and more importantly, the training, so that some of those areas that have higher unemployment rates can reduce those is something that we're focused on statewide, and certainly something that we're very pleased to partner with here with President Carver and others on the terrific Nash Community College staff. So they've really been a critical partner here. So you know, we're continuing to work hard to make smart investments for the future to power the lives of our customers, the economy of our state, the vitality of the communities which we're very, very fortunate to serve. And without such terrific community partners like each one of you, it would be even more challenging to get that important work done. But together, you know, I'm encouraged by the spirit of collaboration that I've seen here recently to get important projects approved, like the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. And I'm very optimistic about the future, particularly of this region of the state, as we go to work implementing a number of these projects that will inure to the benefit of not just this generation, but really generations to come. So thank you so much for having me here this evening. It's such an honor and a privilege to be with you and be among people who are forward-thinking and want to continue to do what's best for our community and for our economy. And if we have time, I'll be glad to take a couple of questions. I'll repeat the question.
Great, thank you. Well, I think everybody can probably hear me. David, thank you for recognizing the City of Rocky Mountain, our early support of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Our City Council certainly was concerned with the environmental questions that were raised, but recognized that it is needed. We need more than one pipeline in this state. Question for you. You referenced the cold snap beginning of the year. The price of natural gas went from $3. Actually, we saw it went up to $150. And just to put that in perspective, $150 for natural gas is equivalent to about $25 a gallon of gasoline. So we're talking some expenses here, some high expenses. Price of oil was $15. Duke continued to burn natural gas for a number of days, finally switched over to oil, and as soon as Duke did, the price came back down to $15. So a question and an ask. The question is, why did it take Duke so long to switch over? And the ask is, please, when the price of gas hits the price of oil, switch over to oil. That helps others.
Sure, that's a great question. The question really is around the dispatch of our generation fleet at Duke Energy. And we dispatch our generation fleet, Rich, on an economic model. So we really dispatch the lowest cost units first. And up until the time that natural gas got to be so high, and it peaked up there over $120, it was more economic for us to run our natural gas units. And then after it got that high, it was more economic for us to run some of our oil units. But we had all of our generation running at peak. As I said, we set an all-time state record that week for the generation we supplied. And one of the things that the Atlantic Coast Pipeline will bring, of course, is additional supply. So that will help mitigate those significant price swings that we saw during that especially cold snap. Thank you. Thank you for early support early on and continued support. Yes?
Just an idea of what is a lineman comes out of National Community College? What do they earn?
So, our line workers start out in the high $20 per hour range, so like probably $26 to $28 an hour. And then after going through an apprentice training program, they're up in the high $30 an hour range. So, with benefits, with overtime, and, our line workers have to be prepared to answer call out so that whenever there are significant storms, like Hurricane Matthew, or even just bad thunderstorms that come through in the middle of the night, there's an opportunity for them to really make not just a sustainable wage, but a good living at this. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. We'd like to continue to partner with a number of groups to help prepare for what's called the CAST test, the Construction Aptitude Skills Test, because that's been a hurdle for some of our prospective talent to be able to overcome. Yes.
You talked to the community colleges. What will Duke take a look at doing for that K-12 model to prepare those students to be able to accept those positions throughout the time?
Yes, that's a great question. What are we doing in the K-12 model to help prepare the workforce for the future? We have a foundation that we use to provide some grant money for education, and that is one of the pillars of the Duke Energy Foundation. So every year we have grants. In fact, the grant cycle is open currently for education grants, primarily focused on STEM education. We want to ensure that the programs that we're investing in are ones that will provide opportunity for students of all backgrounds. We also have a particular focus on ensuring that we have more visibility into the opportunities for line worker training programs, for example, for those students in high school who might not otherwise be interested in going to college. And like I said, you can come out of the National Community College electric line worker training program and go right to work, and you can stay at home. You have to travel around a little bit, but we operate in 85 counties in North Carolina, so we have line workers really across the state. So being sure that we increase the visibility of the opportunities there is a focus area for us, and it's something that we would appreciate your help with. So if you have other ideas along those lines, we would welcome those.
Mr. Fountain,
Yes.
in the mid-'70s, I was part of the computer team with McGuire Nuclear going online at Lake Norman. Compare the technical problems and regulatory problems and life of these nuclear stations with the abundance of natural gas where is the crossover point of cost of nuclear energy versus cost of gas energy?
Right, that's a great question. How do you compare the cost of nuclear versus the current cost of natural gas? Well, the remarkable discovery of the natural gas supplies in North America have really driven the way that we plan our generation and continue to do that. Here in North Carolina, we have 14 different coal sites where we've had coal-fired generation. We've retired half of those over the past less than a decade because the price of natural gas has come down and we're able to repower those sites with natural gas-fired generation. The most efficient cost of nuclear, though, is really the plants that are already running. A lot of people don't realize that we already generate about half the electricity in North Carolina from carbon-free resources. We hear a lot about the Paris Climate Accord and the U.S. withdrawing from that. We hear about the Clean Power Plan and the Trump administration pulling away from that. But the fact that half of our electricity in the state is already generated from carbon-free resources puts North Carolina on a really good path. In fact, I don't know of any other state in the country that has half of its electricity generated from carbon-free resources, which is driven by our world-class nuclear fleet. As a state, we're number 2 in the country in installed solar capacity. And on the Duke Energy system, we have rates that are below the national average, and we've retired half our coal fleet. So we've got a really good clean energy story here in North Carolina. The challenges with new nuclear construction, however, are such that there's not a proven technology that has been successfully constructed in the past 30 years or so. In fact, one of the most recent nuclear plants to come online in the country is the Harris Nuclear Plant in Wake County. And so the fact that there is not a proven technology that can be deployed cost effectively limits the opportunity for new nuclear construction. But our existing nuclear fleet is licensed to run for at least 60 years from its original licensing that you may have been involved with when you were with the company. So thank you so much for letting me be here today.
David, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us this evening. We have a nice gift on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and our local community, and thank you so much for attending this evening.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I should have noticed the 2-foot height difference before I left the stage and adjusted this appropriately. Oops. There we go. Okay. So we'll move on to the recognition part of our program. I'd now like to give some special recognition to the officers and directors who are retiring from the board effective this year in 2018. So please stand if you're here with us this evening as your name is called. First of all, retiring from the officers, Calvin Balance from Balanced Solutions. Calvin? I've not seen Calvin, so he may not be here with us this evening. And also Tina Parker, who is retiring from the Board of Directors, representing Edgecombe Community College Small Business Center. Tina? Thank you both for your loyal service to the Chamber. Now, on to a very rewarding part of our evening. Each year we recognize one very special volunteer from our dedicated volunteer group, the Ambassadors for the Chamber. If you're an ambassador, present or past, please stand for a moment and be recognized. We would not be able to provide the services and events that we do without the help of these volunteers. They are literally the boots on the ground and out in the community, meeting with not only our members, but potential members. They're attending ribbon cuttings, Small Business of the Month celebrations, and more importantly, they're our extended staff. For all of their hard work, each year we award a special honor to one individual ambassador, our Ambassador of the Year. This year we recognize an ambassador who has stepped up to the plate and is not afraid to give her very best with any task we've asked of her. She has driven each opportunity to completion. Please help me in congratulating our 2017 Ambassador of the Year recipient, Mrs. Deborah Holmes. Deborah. We have an award for you, so please come forward. Very well deserved. Next, we have our 2017 Volunteer of the Year Award. The Volunteer of the Year Award is given to honor a dedicated individual who supports the work of the Chamber throughout the region. The award is bestowed on an individual who is passionate about our community, as well as highly involved in both the Chamber and other areas of work. Our winner this year has been completely involved in making our Chamber presence known throughout the community and has always shown his support at every event. His dedication and hard work truly shines, and we could not let this year pass without making sure we let him know our gratitude and that his work is not overlooked. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to name Mr. Kenneth Hunter as our 2017 Volunteer of the Year. Please come forward.
Gentlemen, right here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. For this next award, I would like to have Mr. David Ferris, President and CEO of the Chamber, come to present this to our award recipient.
The President's Award is given to honor a dedicated individual supporting the Chamber's work throughout the community this year. This year's recipient is a person that, when commits to any action or cause, sees it through. An individual that seeks to make a real and meaningful difference in the community. He or she lends support when and where it's needed. Doesn't fear failure, and in this case, when investing in redevelopment of downtown properties. One that gives freely of their God-given talent and resources to help our community and help it become stronger and healthier. My late mother-in-law used to say, we make time for what's important to us. That, of course, means that if something is important to an individual, that person will make time for it. Tonight's recipient is such a person. She's a professional in every sense of the word. She makes time for what's important, her patients, her community, her family, and thank goodness, the Chamber. She brightens any room when she enters it with a warm, engaging smile. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Monique Brown, winner of this year's President's Award.
Thank you, Monique, and congratulations. So for the most prestigious of all Chamber honors is the Distinguished Citizen Award, presented annually to a community servant who has demonstrated noteworthy commitment and contribution. I will now ask Mr. Thomas Betts to join me on stage and introduce our Distinguished Citizen of the Year.
The person that we honor tonight is a pistol. and is unique in so many ways. Our honoree is a businessman that happens to be a woman. She not only rides Harleys, she owns part of the dealership, she also bets on the horses. She's attended over 35 Kentucky Derbies. She entered politics at a time when it was male-dominated, but she didn't hold that against any of the men. Instead, she spent her time raising money from the courthouse to the White House. She often visited the White House several times in the recent past. She's gone from a Goldwater girl to a personal friend of President George W.H. Bush to a delegate at the Republican National Convention on more than one occasion. She has not only raised political money, she also established the Fund Run for Charities that has donated over $2 million for very worthy causes right here in our town. Almost every charity not only has her fingerprints on it, they also have her signature on a nice check. She came to town in 1971 with her husband, the soon-to-be CEO of Hardee's, and she immediately assumed a very active role in Rocky Mount. She's a gourmet cook, and she loves to entertain. Matter of fact, it wasn't long before she came to be the toast of the town with her magnificent parties. It didn't matter whether she was entertaining captains of industry, or just old Joe, or plain Jane. They all received the same attention, and they all enjoyed her china and her crystal. It didn't take long before a lot of people in town fell in love with her. She taught all of us Southerners a thing or two about hospitality. Her parties became legendary. In addition to frequently entertaining friends, and she has many of them, or having a large community gathering, she also has entertained many politicians. I won't go through the whole list, but I'll just name a couple. President Bush, as I just mentioned, Senator Jesse Helms, Senators Tillis, Burr, Senator Elizabeth Dole, Governor Martin, and Lieutenant Governor Jim Gardner. And there, of course, many, many more. As an animal lover, she was instrumental in establishing the dog park here in town. Matter of fact, she owns many fine dogs. The only problem is she has never had a dog that could make it through obedience school. And if you don't believe me, you can ask the UPS man. Now, she is no one-trick pony. Her boundless energy has taken her to the Board of Visitors of the M.D. Anderson Center, to the Board of Trustees of the National Museum of Wildlife Art of the United States, to the Mount Vernon Ladies Association of the United States. And along the way, her enthusiasm and her wit have well served these organizations. In her spare time, she has become one of the largest Papa John's franchisees in the country. She also operates Genghis Grill restaurants, and she also operates Firehouse Subs restaurants. Her business savvy is well documented. She's had a great life and is far from over. While all of her accomplishments are noble and significant, I am most touched by how she treats other people. She looks up to no one. She looks down at no one. No matter who you are, she treats everyone the same. In all her dealings, she is fair. She never takes advantage of others, and her generosity is genuine. Please join me in congratulating our distinguished citizen, Helen Lockery. Helen, come up here and let's share a video.
Well, no question about it. Helen is a lady on the go. But she always leaves tracks, and she leaves good tracks.
Well, Helen is the type of person I would call a woman for all seasons, and a true patriot. She involves her family and her friends in her activities. She's humble, but very strong in her beliefs.
And Helen is a passionate person about politics, about animals, and people. She loves people, she loves her friends, and like everybody else, she loves her girls.
Wherever she goes, she's open to anybody she meets becoming her friend. And she's just a great gal. She's so much fun and adventuresome.
A lunch served in a cemetery. That's what we did. She's always open to a memorable experience and something different.
She's curious, which is what you need to be interested in other people. And I just think she brings so much to this city.
Helen has the talent and the charm to be able to discuss subjects with anyone, the guy on the street, or the ruler of a nation, or the president of the United States.
And she has done some tremendous things for Rocky Mount. For anybody to come in from the Midwest like she and Jack did, and to accomplish all the things that they have done here is really admirable.
Well, I can't think of anyone more deserving than Helen Lockery to receive the Distinguished Citizen Recognition Award here at Rocky Mount. She's done so much for the community.
She is truly a patriot. She believes very strongly in what makes the United States and the world run politically. And she wants to become involved and always does.
She inspired a lot of people in Nash County, I think, to become more involved in patriotic activities. I think the veterans that she helped with that organization of that Veterans Park, I think there are just so many things that, to her, the most important thing is our loyalty to our country.
She enjoys helping others, and she enjoys doing it in a way that's fun both to the participants and to the entity that's going to
garner the support. Like, if you can imagine Helen Locklear supporting a motorcycle ride for charity. I got to know Helen really through the fun run. And it wasn't about Helen. It was about Rocky Mount. It was about raising money for the nonprofits and doing some good, but also with nurturing the leadership that is in many small towns such as Rocky Mount is vanishing. And it was her way of trying to find some new leadership, and I think she succeeded. The impact on the community, it paid for Meals on Wheels. They were able to offer Saturday service for folks. It allowed sex education through the Nash Rocky Mountain school system for 3,300 students. Dive mass for I think Stony Creek. Education opportunities that people otherwise would not have had. Spay and neuter for the pets, and she's a huge lover of animals. Besides Fun Run and Reach Out Rocky Mount, Helen has made a big impact on our community and other communities.
She was always generous, but she took that generosity and took it out beyond our community into all over the United States with her fundraising and her ability just to find the people that she could talk to and convince that they needed to support her causes.
Well, an example of Helen's generosity to charities is that on her 70th birthday, she invited a numerous amount of her friends to a reverse raffle. And the last person in this raffle whose name was drawn, Helen presented a $70,000 check to that person's favorite charity. Not her own, but that person's. And that's the kind of generosity that Helen always exhibits.
And Helen, I just want to congratulate you on being the outstanding citizen of Rocky Mount and the Chamber.
I can't think of anyone that's more deserving than you. You've done so much for Rocky Mount, your adopted home. And on behalf of Rocky Mount, we appreciate everything you've done.
Congratulations, Helen, on this much-deserved award. I am so proud of you.
This award presented to you tonight, Helen, is well-deserved. Godspeed to you, and may God always hold you in the palm of His hand.
I was just thinking, I wish my kids knew this. There they are. Of all the nice things that have been said about me, no one ever said I was speechless. And that's because I'm not sure it's ever happened before. To be lauded by Tom Betts and those people, I think is beyond anything I could imagine. To be lumped with the group just of those, to be in this room with you, not all of whom I know, but I know if you're here, you love Rocky Mount like I do, and you believe in Rocky Mount like I do, and I know you're giving your time to put behind the things that you believe that we can do. We've been a great community, and we're going to continue to be an even greater community because of the people like you who have the enthusiasm that I have. It's an easy town to get excited about. I wasn't born here, but as the joke goes, I came as quick as I could get here. And have never looked back and regretted a day. Have always felt blessed to be in a community where opportunity is, the sky's the limit. Because if you're trying in Rocky Mount, everybody's cheering for you. I thank you so very much. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, and very, very well deserved. Thank you for your ongoing support of Rocky Mount. So, now we come to the part of the evening where I may be smiling more than you've seen me thus far, and it may have a little something to do to my last remarks and my opportunity to pass along the gavel to our new incoming chairman. When I think back over the past year, a few things come to mind. Rocky Mount Mills becoming a full-service entertainment and culinary destination. Downtown Rocky Mount continuing its historic transformation. New buildings erected at Nash and Edgecombe Community College and also at North Carolina Wesleyan campus here in Rocky Mount. A constant influx of new education programs and new degrees for those inside and outside of our community to pursue. A CSX announcement that confirmed the significance of our location here in Eastern North Carolina, and more importantly, the skills and capability of our workforce and our infrastructure in the Twin Counties. We are declared by history a train town, and we stand ready to support CSX with the same partnership and commitment that we've extended to them for the last 125 years. Many new shopping and retail destinations, a new downtown event center taking shape, our recent announcements of Corning Glass and Triangle Tire for Edgecombe County, and the list could literally go on and on. The Chamber takes no specific credit for any of these things. In fact, there are leaders in the room tonight who played very key and significant roles in landing each of these new businesses and opportunities for our region. We welcome each new person, each new company, each new educational program with open arms to a community that is growing and transforming with each passing week. We are decidedly stronger than we were a year ago. The state of our chamber and the state of our region is one of prosperous growth. My sincere appreciation first goes this year to my lovely wife, Kim. Thank you. As those who've been in this role before know, there are many evenings that we don't make it home, and so we're very appreciative for those who support us. My sincere appreciation also goes to the chamber staff, ambassadors, volunteers, and board members who have supported our organization and our membership in such a transitional year. A special thanks goes to Larry Williamson, who accepted the position of interim chamber president to keep our organization focused and moving forward during this transition. Larry also led our search committee as we identified a new CEO and president for our chamber. Many thanks also goes to our new CEO and president, David Ferris. Thank you. And a round of applause. David applied for this leadership role out of a love for our community, a commitment to business in our region, and a desire to see Rocky Mount and the Twin Counties take full advantage of this unprecedented time of growth and transformation. David, congratulations. I know the Chamber is indeed in good hands and under great leadership. As a Chamber leadership, we must all remain diligent and dedicated to our members, our community, and our region. With that, I'm going to pass along my chairmanship to Mr. Dewey Clark. And as my last official act as the 2017 chairman of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce our 2018 Chamber chairman. Dr. Clark became a board member of the Chamber of Commerce in 2016 and was selected as our chairman-elect for 2017. I recall my conversation with Dewey a little over a year ago, saying to him that things run very smoothly at the Chamber. You will need to attend a few events. Everything is well prepared in advance, and it shouldn't require an enormous amount of your time. Little did I know at that time, Dewey, that at that time our CEO and president for the Chamber would be looking to move to a new opportunity and would be resigning. And at that point, we were going to be asked to step up and look for new leadership for our Chamber. One of the good things that come out of challenges and opportunities is that you get to know people better. In this case, 2 years ago, I would have called Dewey a business acquaintance. After the past 12 months, I now refer to Dewey as a friend. Our new chairman joined North Carolina Wesleyan College as its 7th president on May 4th, 2014. He earned his bachelor's degree in business administration and history from Wesleyan in 1982. He later earned a master's degree in business administration from Campbell University and earned his doctorate in management from Argosy University. Dr. Clark began his professional career in the admissions office at Wesleyan, where he became Associate Dean of Admissions for the school. He subsequently joined MBM Corporation, a national customized food distributor in Rocky Mount, where he ultimately served as the Executive Director of Strategic Planning, managing the company's $7 billion annual operating plan. As Wesleyan's fortune would have it, Dewey returned to the college in 2014 as its president, following a service on the college's board of trustees for 12 years, including roles as vice chairman and chairman. Dr. Clark has been honored with a variety of awards for service to the community, and he and his family are active in Rocky Mount's Inglewood Baptist Church. Dr. Clark and his wife, Suzanne, have a daughter, Blakely, and a son, Nicholas. Dewey, my new friend, thank you for your support to me and the Chamber Board in 2017, and it is with great pleasure that I pass along the gavel to you and look forward to supporting you as our chairman and leader in 2018.
Thank you, Marty, for that very kind introduction. You were very generous with your words there, and it's great comfort that I follow your leadership from the past year. I will warn you, you're on my speed dial list, and I'm going to be sure to move you to the top, so I'm sure we'll be talking, we'll continue to talk. And don't worry, you know, I've got 2 attorneys on staff. I've got out at Wesleyan, I've got a great HR guy. I got Wayne Sears. And I know Scotty Parker, my former college roommate, is a judge, so I think I'll try my best to stay out of trouble for the next year. You know, Marty told me when I took this position that everything was fixed. There were no problems in the chamber. There was no problems in Rocky Mount. So, Marty, thank you for fixing everything. We've got a great future ahead of us, so thank you. I want to give Marty and his wife some gifts for your service and loyalty to the chamber. So if you and your wife would come forward, and I was wondering earlier what gifts was I supposed to give you, and I realize I'm last, so I'm going to give you everything that's left. Got that, and do I just keep giving that everything's left? Okay. All right, so the flowers go to you. Okay. And Marty, here's something else. I don't think I'm supposed to share this. I don't know. You know, Marty told part of the story. He approached me in October of 2016 and said he wanted to come out to the college. He had a great opportunity for me. Well, I know I wasn't in the job market, so I thought, well, maybe he's coming out here to make a donation to the college. And he came out and we started talking, and I quickly realized that it wasn't about money. It was about, you know, being the next, being the vice chairman for him. So I quickly realized and remembered that I am following in the steps of Dr. Les Garner, who was a great mentor of mine, and he was the 3rd president of North Carolina Wesleyan College. So when I realized that I had the opportunity to follow not only in Marty's footsteps, but in Dr. Les Garner's, it was very special to me, so I jumped at the chance. And then, of course, when Marty told me that there would be no problems at all, that everything was solved, then I knew it was going to be okay. So I told Marty, I said, one thing that you got to know, and just you got to know this about me. I love Rocky Mount. I'm like Helen. I was not born here, but I came here as quickly as I could get here. I came from Zebulon, North Carolina. 35 miles down to North Carolina Wesleyan College in the fall of 1978. And I got here and I realized that it was not Zebulon, and I actually quit college after 2 days and went back to Zebulon and ran into a friend of mine, and he told me it's always too early to quit something significant. So I came back and he said, give it a chance. So I gave Rocky Mount and Wesleyan a chance, and September will be 40 years. So I think I'm a native, okay, after 40 years. But I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I want to thank everybody that supported me. Obviously, in life, you cannot do anything significant by yourself, and the older you get, the more you realize that. So anything meaningful and significant, it takes a team. I have a great team. It starts with my wife, Suzanne, and my children. So the First Lady is here tonight. First Lady's in the house. So thank you, Suzanne, for all your support. And of course, the secret's out on campus, and we might as well go ahead and tell everybody in Rocky Mount tonight. Dewey Clark don't run the college. My assistant, Cindy Edwards, does. Cindy keeps me headed in the right direction. If you need to know where I am at, don't call me and ask me, call Cindy. She can tell you better about where I am than I am. So thank you, Cindy, for all you do. And thank you, Chamber Board, for everything that you've done. Thank you, Wesleyan staff. I have a great team out at North Carolina Wesleyan College. We actually have 2 tables here tonight. And you know, when I took the job out at Wesleyan, the first thing that I wanted to do was build a great team. And I've been building that team for 4 years, and we have a very strong team at North Carolina Wesleyan College. And you're going to hear from us in the future. You're going to hear more and more about North Carolina Wesleyan College. And I'll tell you, I'm very proud. We're the fastest growing private college in North Carolina. And North Carolina Wesleyan College and the city of Rocky Mount, we're going to grow together, and we're going to have a marriage like we've never had before. And I'm going to try my best to make that happen next year. So what about the chamber team? We had to go through the process after Marty started winding down. We had to put together the team for this year. So if you would put up the chamber leadership team for 2018. It starts with one of my favorite people in the world now, and I will ask you to stand when your name is called. One of my favorite people's now is Cameron Stallings, because Cameron's going to be my vice chair. So thank you, Cameron. And of course, Marty, you've heard from him. Michelle Tuning. Is Michelle here? Thank you, Michelle. Amanda Bell. I've seen Amanda earlier tonight. David Joyner. Thank you, David. Phil Dixon. Phil. Okay. Roger Taylor. Alan Barnhill. Okay. Kristen Brabble. I know Kristen's here. Dr. Brown. Alan Button. Alan's here. Eric Evans. Okay, I haven't seen Eric. Lisa Ferguson. Okay. Gary Hodges, our photographer. Thomas Joyner. And I know John Judd is here. John. And I know Z Lamb is here. Bill Long and Dr. Trent Morebutter. Dr. Haywood Parker. Rochelle Small-Tony. Thank you, Rochelle. Mr. Todd Pipkin. Thank you. Ken Sawyer. Letitia Sledge. Of course, every important board in Rocky Mount has Norris Tolson on it. Where's Mr. Tolson? John Van. And lastly, Darlene Winstead from PNC Bank. So that's our team. I think we are poised with a great team. We've got, I think 2018 is going to be one of the best years in the history of Rocky Mount. We have everything in place here. You know, Marty told me that it would take a real idiot to mess this thing up. So I asked him, what in the world did you pick me for? But, you know, if you look at Rocky Mount, it's been 200 years. Rocky Mount's been here for 200 years. It was first mentioned in 1817, 1818, and Rocky Mount was basically mentioned as a logistics place, a place that was on the Tar River. And it's not ironic that we have come full circle and we're going to be known in the future as a logistics hub. And I think the Chamber is going to play a big role in that. Marty said it best, you know, we're not taking credit for anything. We just want to help in any way we can. But you know, Rocky Mount's gone through some rough times. We've gone through tobacco. We've gone through textiles, Hardee's, banking, the Great Flood, and the Great Recession. But all that's behind us. I do believe that 2018 will be one of our better years. It's already been mentioned, but we got the Event Center. You heard from Michael Goodman about Rocky Mount Mills. We've got CSX, Triangle Tire, Corning, Pfizer's growing, Cummings is growing, and then there's that little college out on 301 called North Carolina Wesleyan College. It's going to be a very exciting year this year. The Chamber is committed to filling this vision of strengthening our region as North Carolina's best location to live, work, and play. And we're committed to our mission of fostering economic growth and to advance the commercial, industrial, and civic well-being of the region through a strong and expanding business base. And lastly, and it's been mentioned many times tonight, we're fortunate to have a great president, David Ferris. He's the right person at the right time for the Chamber. I will have to admit, when May came along and Theresa resigned, the thought did cross my mind, what in the world have I gotten myself into? But when David Ferris emerged as the candidate for president, those worries subsided at that point. So thank you again, David. And we've reached the end of the evening. I just want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Nash Community College for hosting us. I want to thank or congratulate Miss Lockery. Her husband, Jack, was one of my favorite people of all times. Congratulations. Congratulations to everybody that won an award. I want to thank the Chamber for planning this great event tonight. God bless our Chamber. God bless this city. Very best I can to become the best chairman that I can be. So thank you for your help, and I now declare this meeting adjourned.